Now I'd like to introduce you to today's participants. First, Peter Brannigan, partner at DoxAdvisors, has been designing and integrating Worldox solutions for more than 9 years. He has vast experience with all aspects of the Worldox product, particularly integration with other solutions. Peter has developed an online course teaching how Worldox integrates with Teams. Next up, we have John Rock, also partner at DoxAdvisors. John has been implementing Worldox solutions for more than 20 years. John's passion is in making Worldox work for the end user. He designs, customizes, and teaches simplicity in use of the Worldox software to utilize its robust features. John is also involved with creating online training courses for Worldox and hosts a YouTube channel on Worldox tips and tricks. Peter, how would you like to give a quick overview of DoxAdvisors?
All right, sure. So as you heard, John and myself are both DoxAdvisors, and over 30 years between us with Worldox alone. So we have a lot of experience with Worldox, and we have two main things. We're an inner circle partner of Worldox, and we're also, I think, is a premier partner in status with STI for Tabs and Practice Master. So we're kind of in the elite in both of those groups, which is a pretty good achievement. The two of us can cover the whole country, actually. And in fact, international, we've got an Australian deployment, an Irish one, we have some in the islands, and we're all over the States. So even though we're kind of East Coast based, we kind of have a global footprint, and but mostly US based. I focus on the tri-state area and Manhattan, with a lot of clients around there in New Jersey, obviously. And then John does Maryland, and he does Texas, and then the other parts of it we share together. But we're passionate about what we do. As you heard, we develop online courses and training courses for people to learn Worldox by themselves on demand. So we got a lot of things going on. We have fun, and we're very customer focused, and customer satisfaction is basically everything. It's the only thing we have, really.
Thanks, Peter. Not to be confusing, but we have two Johns on today's webinar. Jonathan Erman is a partner at Amabile and Erman, where his primary focus is on medical malpractice defense, complex claims defense, and representation of physicians and hospitals before various administrative agencies. John is admitted before the federal courts in both New York and New Jersey. When he's not practicing law, John can be found at hockey rinks and soccer sidelines cheering on his kids. Welcome, John. Would you like to give a brief overview of your firm?
Sure. Thank you very much. Besides hockey and soccer, I'm now a lacrosse dad. But putting aside my free time, which is few and far between, I am a partner at Amabile and Erman. We are a law firm that represents hospitals, medical providers, major healthcare systems. We have offices in New York and New Jersey. My team consists of 17 attorneys and 20 support staff. And basically our responsibility is essentially 100% litigation. And again, defending the interests of medical providers.
Thanks so much, John. And last but not least, we have Dara Fitzpatrick. Dara is partner and executive vice president at Tabush Group, where he leads client management and is responsible for the growth of BoxTop, the firm's cloud solution, which helps law firms maintain security, productivity, and IT simplicity. Originally from Ireland, Dara relocated to New York in the early 2000s. He now lives on Long Island with his wife and their 2 sons. Welcome, Dara.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks, everybody.
So I'll quickly run through today's agenda. First, Dara will provide a brief overview of Desktop as a Service, or DAAS. Then John Rock will provide tips and best practices for using tabs in a DAAS environment, followed by Peter providing tips for Worldox and DAAS. Finally, we'll hear from John Erman about his firm's experience using the BoxTop DAAS cloud solution. That was a mouthful. Again, if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box at any point. And now to kick things off, I'll turn this over to you, Dara.
Thanks, Deb. So before I go in and just explain what DAAS is, first of all, I just think it'll be helpful to describe the 3 different types of cloud that are most prominent in the small law firm world and the small business world. So first of all, we have what's called infrastructure as a service. That's IaaS. So when utilizing infrastructure as a service, purpose-built servers running applications are built in a private cloud or in a cloud like AWS or Microsoft's Azure cloud. These servers can be built by your internal IT team. In the case of most people that be on this webinar, it'll be your managed service provider, IT partner. An example of using infrastructure as a service would be, say, for instance, taking your Worldox or Tab application and building a purpose-built server in Amazon Web Services and accessing it remotely from your desktop in your office space or wherever you're working from. The second type of cloud that is very well known and utilized is SaaS, software as a service. So when utilizing software as a service, a firm and the user subscribes to different cloud providers for specific services. So most SaaS offerings are web-based. So in other words, you access them through a web page, and many of them also have applications that you install on your desktops or your laptop to access also. So examples of this would be Office 365 for your email, which you access through the web, but also through Outlook. Ignite for shared file sharing. Again, you access it through the web, but you can install an Ignite desktop app, which is type of like a better version in my mind of Dropbox. Or Net Documents for document management, which is purely a web-based icon, although it does have some plugins that you install in your desktop and through Outlook. Then finally, we get to desktop as a service, or DAAS, as it's commonly called. This is more or less the newest type of cloud service that people have started interacting with in the smaller business world. The technology behind it has been around since about 2006, 2007. So when you're utilizing DAAS at your firm, everyone accesses their Windows desktop from the cloud. So the cloud desktop runs Microsoft Windows 10 just like your normal PC did, and it looks, operates, and performs in the exact same manner. But since it is in the cloud, it's now accessible from anywhere. As Deborah said, in 2016, we at Tabush built and launched our own desktop as a service cloud platform called BoxTop. So leveraging the right type of cloud platform will definitely help reduce the complexity of your IT at your firm. And reducing the complexity allows smaller firms like yours to attain the productivity, accessibility, and security required to run your firm and compete in the legal market with larger firms without the same overheads of a larger firm. The reason DAAS has become so popular and is the fastest growing type of cloud platform in the small to mid-sized legal world and business world is that it allows you to achieve that goal much more easily and much more effectively. So what is DAAS? So basically, when leveraging DAAS, all aspects of your IT are moved to the cloud, not just one application or one service, like what I described when you're using infrastructure as a service or software as a service. All your server and desktop applications and your files are now accessible through one DAAS cloud. You simply access and log on to your Windows 10 cloud desktop from any location, and you work as you have done in the past when you were using a PC in your desk. Everything is the same. You can work on Worldox, Tabs, your Word, Excel, Adobe applications, your Dragon dictation, Workshare Compare, and a myriad of other different types of applications that you would use on a normal desktop. When working in your cloud desktop in the office, you print and scan, upload files, and share data in the exact same way you did prior to working in the desktop, on a cloud desktop. Hot desking or hoteling is very much an easier thing in the DAAS cloud, which is something that's very prominent now and a great thing that people want to solve and be able to apply to their business. Your cloud desktop is now is not only accessible from your office, but can be accessed from any location and from any device. A Mac, a PC, a laptop, an iPad, even your smartphone can be used to access your full desktop and all the applications we mentioned earlier. No matter the device or the location you're working from, the experience is the exact same for you, the end user. This means that people can work seamlessly and productively, as there is no need to adapt to the environment that they're working from. All aspects of every person's role, your attorneys, your support staff, can now be performed productively from inside or outside the office. This is very, very important nowadays, obviously. Every cloud desktop is secured to meet the strict guidelines your firm, clients, and institutional partners require you to meet. Since each person accesses their desktop, no matter where they work from, they are always working securely. No more secure VPN or remote access issues or concerns. Over the last 18 months, we have learned how important it is to be able to adapt and pivot during unforeseen conditions. A DAAS cloud platform ensures that this type of operational hurdle is easy to overcome and plan for. Although no one fully knows the lasting impact to the operation of our firms during the pandemic, what is becoming, or after the pandemic, what is becoming widely accepted is that a flexible workspace is here for the foreseeable future, if not even forever. Leveraging cloud, particularly with DAAS, ensures that your IT reflects this new need and that it is very, very, very achievable for your firm in a very simple and seamless way. So now that you understand DAAS, let's see it in action. John and Peter are going to show us some simple tips and tricks for Tabs and Worldox, both running in our desktop as a service cloud, BoxTop.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm accessing my BoxTop desktop using an internet connection. And we've all talked and heard about the advantages of desktop as a service in BoxTop. But from my perspective, the end user, what does it mean to me? First of all, it's the same look as my Windows 10 desktop. Nothing has changed from when I had a computer in front of me, as opposed to me logging into BoxTop from an internet browser. It's my own desktop, my own icons on my desktop, and all my same programs like Word, Outlook tabs, and Worldox. There's nothing to learn since there is nothing new. It looks and feels the same, and we've got incredible performance because there's no shared resources. I have my own computer, my own hard drive, my own memory allocation, and my own programs installed. So my performance is spectacular. Tabs works the same as before, if not better, because of the backbone of BoxTop. From our perspective, from Worldox and Tabs integrators, when we go to do upgrades and updates on either Worldox or Tabs, they're much faster on the BoxTop servers because of the resources available. So we can access Word, Excel, email programs all from one location. I can print my reports from Tabs locally where I am, not just in the office, because I can print to wherever I am. It is not working remotely, it is just working. I stole that one from Dara, and I use it all the time when referring to BoxTop. So let's get into Tabs on my BoxTop desktop, and we'll poke around. Give me 1 second while I rearrange windows here. So the first thing I want to do is come to my BoxTop desktop, and I'm going to open Tabs. One of the first things that I noticed when I'm working with a lot of my Tabs clients is they still have this old look. And this old look is what we call the task folders. And I want to show you the new look in Tabs for all of you who are resisting the change. If you come into Tabs and you come into the view options and you go to theme settings, we want to choose tabbed, we want to click legacy settings, and we want to uncheck this task folders and click OK. And now when I save that, I'm in the new look for Tabs. And this I find a whole lot more enjoyable than the old version. And this is much more user-friendly. When you come into Tabs, there's the home page. There's a Getting Started, which helps you learn how to do some basic functions. You have a My Actions tab, which allows you to customize things specific to your needs. So we can come over here to this gear icon. I can add actions. I type in, I want to add fee entry. I click fee entry, and I can add that to this list. I can come finish. And now I have fee entry on My Actions tab, which allows me to add items, either actions or group of actions that I use on a regular basis. I want the recap of hours report on here. So I'm typing recap of hours, and you see it comes up here. I click the report, I add that. And I want to add cost entry here as well. So I type in cost and I add that to my list. Now what I've got is my own customized page here in my Actions tab that allows me to rearrange and enter items that are specific to me. I click Finish, and now everything I need is right here in the My Actions tab. And that to me is a lot better than the task folders, which is basically an abbreviated version of this All Actions tabs. So the task folders are basically set up by group, and that's how these are set up. And I can come in here to the people's group and see all the things that are people related. And I can come in here to transactions and see all the items that are transaction related. So we can flip back and forth between the My Actions, which are my identifiable shortcuts, or All Actions. If allowed and if permitted at your site, you have a dashboard with different items that are available too. This is extremely helpful for partners because they can see accounts receivable, work in process, receipts, and billing history. Over here on the left, we have another area called the Quick Launch. This is another area that I think is underutilized in a lot of my client sites. So if you click over here on the Quick Launch tab and you pin this to keep it out here, it now identifies 4 areas. There's pinned actions, recent actions, pinned matters, and recent matters. And what this does is allows me to see where I've been recently. And if it's an active matter that I want to have easy access to, I can click the little thumbnail and pin it up here to my pin matters. And now my active matters can be here. When this active matter goes away, I can click unpin and it removes itself from pin matters. So this is kind of like a rabbit trail of where, a breadcrumb trail, I should say, of where we've been and things that I've done recently that allow me to get back to them very easily. There's another cool feature here that has a right-click option. And if I right-click this timekeeper analysis report, I can add it to my actions. And you see now it comes over here into my Actions tab and allows me to save it. So again, instant access to the things that I utilize on a regular basis. There's also an area over here on the Quick Launch that is the fastest way to get around in tabs that I've found. So if I wanted to do a fee entry and I type fee up here, you'll see I can get to fee entry right there. One-click access, now I'm at the fee entry window. If I come back here and I type cost in the window, I can quickly get to a cost entry window. And because I have tabbed views set up, I can flip back and forth between things rather than have it as a window and they would overlay over top of each other and it would be very difficult to navigate back and forth. So this search actions is a way to get to something very quickly as well. We talked about the performance benefits of BoxTop. In this environment, I'm in a demo environment. I'm in the trial software, so I don't have a lot of data here. But if I come over here and I come to, let's do the transaction file list report, and I just want it for everything and all actions, and I want to preview it. This is how fast 4 pages of information is returned to me. It's that fast. If I come over here to the detail work in process report, and I'll do it for all items, all people, preview, here's 9 pages of information that are returned to me. So you can see this is extremely fast. If I come over to the timekeeper analysis report, and again, I do it for all items, click OK and preview. Now I brought back 16 pages of information. So again, I'm not making up the performance and the speed. It is remarkable on this platform, as I've noted from working with, this company for several years now. To finish off, I'm going to come over into Practice Master. And you can see this still has the old look to it. I'm going to open up my quick launch, and I'm going to come over here to the client summary report. And I'm going to do it for all actions, all items, all clients, and I'm going to click preview. Now, that's how fast 443 pages were presented to me in this environment. Again, I'm not making it up. It's very responsive, it's very fast, and I found the results to be extremely rewarding. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'm going to turn it over to Peter for our Worldox portion.
Thanks, John.
All right, John, just minimize your stuff. Thank you very much for that. So the reason we're doing these kind of mini demos and the different platforms is to show you really two main things. One is the experience is identical to a desktop. So I'm looking here in my home office here, the full screen. It's end to end. The start menu is down the bottom left. It's identical. So that's one point. And we're using these products, and we're going to teach you a few tricks just to show you that it really is identical. And also the speed, we find this to be incredibly fast. So the equivalent of what John just did in this demo, if I do a search of client files here, and I just search all the documents, and it's going to tell me there's a lot of files here. You sure you want to get everything? Maybe you only want to take a limited set because there's so many files. But personally, I want the full list. But here I just returned 6,781 files in the bottom right. You can see that. So we just returned 6,700 files in a search that was done, which is one of the most intensive things you can do in Worldox. So that just shows you the speed that we're talking about, which is very fast. In fact, it's the fastest that I personally have ever seen on any platform, even in-house. Often it's not as fast as this. So we'll do that. Now we're going to show you a few tips and tricks from Worldox. And again, just to prove that it's the identical interface. And as John showed you, the quick things in Tabs and Practice Master, we have the same thing in Worldox. Your out-of-the-box Worldox may not look like this, but this is our best practice because we've been doing this a long time. And we know not just the performance of the operating system, but how things are laid out leads to the performance of each employee. And with Worldox, as you probably know, you gain about $15,000 worth of time back every year just by efficiency. And we do that. So this yellow area is bookmarks. So you don't want to just use things like this binoculars that everybody uses. That's one click and then another click, and now we get somewhere. Well, if we can take 2 clicks down to 1 click, that's just these things that they're doing all day, every day, add a lot of efficiency. So you definitely want to have a bookmarks bar like here. And what we do then is put in things like 20 Word documents. So these are recent test documents that I've done. If there's any PDFs, we find them. And the beauty of that is when we see one, we can actually drill down into a file location up here, which a lot of people don't know, that you can add buttons up to the top. And these are some that we recommend, is like adding bookmarks, turning on and off the navigation panel, and just open file location. So these 20s are very effective. And if we want to get into that deal again, just open file location and we drill down into that matter. So very quick. And then also you can favorite a file, just put a heart on it, and you can have my favorites here can be added into this bookmarks bar. Again, this is not there by default, but you can ask your value-added reseller, or obviously we can help, or whoever you're working with can help to do that. And 1 click, and here we have instant access to some files we want instant access to. If we turn it off, it just goes away again. And if you notice up here, there's tabs for the various searches I've been running, that we can do that instead of having to rerun the searches. So the last 20s and favorites are definitely something you want to do. Another, if you look here, if I go to this gas supply, let's take that one for City of Mesa. Maybe this is an active matter. And I don't want to be going searching all the time, because even though favorite matters are here on the left, this gets moved around quite a bit. But I could just go there once, and then I could say add bookmark and just give it a name. I need to put a Z in front of it to keep it to the left, but just give it any name that makes sense to you. And all of a sudden now it's up here. So if I want to go to this matter, I can go to that, or I can go back to the gas supply. So I don't have to go hunting and pecking over here, looking for it. Now, again, I only have a few here, so it's pretty easy. But for most people, you're doing transactional stuff, you might have a lot of activity. These are fixed. So your top 5 to 10 matters, you should have up here with one click and just instantly get there. And when you're done with it, you just right click it and delete it. It's just a bookmark. So you can delete that and it's gone. And then you add up the next, whatever matter you're working on. If you notice down the bottom here, there's a thing called filters. And I actually worked with a firm a few days ago that had Worldox for 15 years and had never tried the tags or the filters. They didn't know they existed. These are very effective once we get to a matter, because again, in this matter, we have 6,200 files, but I can quickly isolate things. Like I could go in and put in some agreements, and these are the agreements, and there's still quite a few of those. But if we take something like, if you hover over, by the way, it tells you how many there are of the particular thing. If I want a spreadsheet, I can isolate the spreadsheets. So it's a lot easier to just drill down on particular things. You may know the author, a Barreto. Again, I'm down to one file in that case. So very, very efficient by doc type or by the type of document, whether it's a doc, because sometimes you're looking for the original, but maybe you're just looking for a PDF because you want a final version of something, and you can isolate those. So it's a very good way of, and this is a more realistic one. Here we have 32 files, and instead of doing page down looking for something, you can just quickly look for emails. Here's all the emails. Or again, we may have something that's hot for us. So this is things that are good for us. You can put tags on them. But anyway, these filters are a whole world that many people are not aware of. And as you can see here, it's almost instant access in the BoxTop environment. One other thing that people didn't know is if you look here in this search, you can actually have email fields in here for from and to search for emails, any part of the email address. A lot of people don't have that in their search criteria, but that can be very useful. So you can put anything in there. Actually, I'm not sure which emails I have here, so I'm not going to just demo it, but there's a lot of things you can do on this search to customize it that you should consider. Again, if you're doing a lot of emails, litigation type work, then you want to track down the different key figures in the matter, then you can just do those searching. And one last thing I'll show you is obviously we have Outlook integration from Worldox. So if I have files here that I'm sending, a lot of people don't actually know there's an email button up here. Again, I was with a client the other day, they didn't know you could do this, but you can just click email. We can continue, and we can either say full copies of the file, which will attach them. But I just want to show a new feature here that just came out a couple of weeks ago. When we put a file list, which a lot of people do for sending files internally, you can now attach the documents as well as the project file. And again, for those of you that don't use Worldox, humor me for a second here, but those that do and that do launch Outlook for attaching files from Worldox, you'll see in a second once the Outlook kicks up here, that it's hidden behind here. So there's a project file with the two files, but it also attached the two documents. In the old days, old days being before, but 4 weeks ago, you had to do the project first, go back and attach files here manually, and then send them back in and attach them there individually as a group. You can do all of that in one shot now, which is another example of Worldox just improving the product. I actually requested this feature about a year ago. It took about a year to get in there, but all my clients have always asked me for that. And now we have that. So actually, it's another part of the influence that we have with Worldox. We can actually drive some of the features on the product. So don't be shy in asking for things. They will respond to it. And I will pass it back to Deborah after showing you those few items.
Thanks so much. Actually, so now I'll hand it off to Dara so we can speak with John Erman.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Deborah. John, thanks for waiting patiently in the wings. I appreciate that, John Erman. So welcome. So your firm has been using Worldox for many years, and you moved into the desktop as a service cloud platform BoxTop, but you've been working in desktop as a service since early 2019.
19.
So I just had some questions I wanted to run by you. So one of the things that scares a lot of people when they're thinking about moving to the cloud is the perception that the journey to get there is quite arduous, that it's disruptive and problematic. So when you migrated to BoxTop into a desktop as a service cloud, how was the transition for you and your team? What I know it was 2 years ago, but
It was early 2019. Obviously, with the law firm, you're very skeptical when it comes to technology. Downtime is costing you a tremendous amount of money. Thankfully, we were lucky. Excuse me, we were very lucky. The transition, I believe, was a weekend. What was said earlier is true. Your desktop looks exactly the same as it did before you went up to the cloud. It's exactly the same. Your programs are the same. The only issue we had personally was we didn't have a high-speed cable from Verizon or whatever internet provider you may have or utilize. They had to put a new cable in, which delayed the implementation of BoxTop for us for about 2 or 3 weeks. But other than that, it was seamless. It really was.
So just going on from that, so John and Peter have spoken to that seamlessness. And another one of the big dreads is, look, my people are going to arrive and they're going to have to learn all this new way of working. So after that cutover weekend, were you basically back to work and full on for you and your people?
Yes, we were 100% back on. We did have one issue with a third-party provider for dictation. We use Philips system, but that kink was worked out within 4 or 5 hours. But again, it's as if you're sitting at your desktop in your office. Everything's the same. Nothing changed. The only difference was that it's up in the cloud and I didn't have to worry about a server going down.
Right. The most common thing I hear is that, well, actually, I just got a new PC and this PC happens not to be under my desk anymore. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. It's just a monitor and speakers if you want to utilize that, and a camera for Zooms like we're having today. Our printers, we have a lot of printers in this office. All of our assistants have printers on their desks, but we also have copy rooms because we service and provide legal services for medical providers and hospital systems. And as you can imagine, the hospital charts that we receive are thousands of pages. So everything is connected seamlessly. I can print something out of my house that can go to my assistant's desktop, not desktop, excuse me, but desk printer. We do utilize Worldox, and we've been utilizing Worldox for many years now. The features that were described by Peter are spot on. We save most of our medical records to Worldox, so you can access any portion of the file that you may need to utilize instantaneously. There is no lag, as pointed out by both John and Peter, by going up to the cloud at all. And for us as a law firm, we're a small law firm in New York City. The biggest concern we always had before going to you was privacy protection, being in compliance with HIPAA, federal rules with regards to medical records. And we've had no issues. And, being a small law firm also, we wanted continuity and basically the capability to structure out what our future IT costs would be.
Right.
We had our own personal servers previously because of the way things worked, years ago. But now at this point, it's comforting for me, at least knowing, what the bottom line is going to be on a monthly basis without worrying about a $50,000 server dropping. And of course, the lag time in trying to get it back up or reconstruct the records that we need to reconstruct. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not an IT guy.
Yeah, no, and they're all very valid points. And a lot of the things you're saying are the reasons why a lot of people look to cloud, because it, not just from the technology standpoint, but from a business standpoint, it makes sense that you're outsourcing Most small law firms outsource the IT expertise. Now you're
Right.
actually outsourcing the expense of the environment also and wrapping it with expertise, which really makes sense. It's type of like, you don't rent out, you don't place your money in a bank and then hire someone else outside the bank to manage it.
That's correct.
They put the money in the bank and you get the expertise of the bank to manage it also.
Right.
So you're doing the same thing with cloud and IT partners. You're marrying it together, and therefore the results should be a lot more effective, and you should get a better return in your investment.
Right. I mean, for the people who are viewing, I am volunteering my time to do this. I've never had a supplier who or a partner, so to say, where the product, when March 9th or March 10th happened, and I'll just give you a really brief story, but I was at a major hospital system in New York City. We had to go over some cases, and I asked around the room, and people were saying, get ready for something that's going to be really dramatic, and you're not going to be working from your office, and things could be shutting down. We're preparing for it right now. And I can honestly say, within 3 or 4 days, my staff was running 100% as if we were in the office. And this is an office where no one really worked remotely. But it was because of your product where we were able to access our files, work remotely, dictation was transmitted digitally. I mean, and that's the reason why I said, when you asked me, I said I would do this because, again, as an owner of a law firm where you have so many people who rely on salaries and, the welfare of the firm, I mean, it was scary times, but thankfully everything held up.
Yeah, it was scary times, and something we will be talking to our kids and grandkids about for a long, 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 long time.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that prior to the pandemic, I when I talk to people when it relates to IT, and I speak to the pandemic, I talk about it in the vein of it'll never happen to me. That's the type of thing. Nobody ever said we need to prepare for a pandemic, because we never thought that was something we'd have to deal with. I think you used the word, John, which was John Erman. You used the word continuity. Every small business owner, small law firm, partner, managing partner, that is their biggest worry, the continuity of business. No matter the hurdle that you have to overcome, is how do I make sure that my people are taken care of, the business is taken care of, my clients are therefore taken care of, when something that I never think will happen will occur. And I think the natural type of human reaction when there's an issue that reaches a critical level of 6 is to put protection of level 7. Well, when you're using a desktop as a service cloud, you're going beyond that actually, because you're moving, as you said, the ability for every single person in your law firm to be able to function remotely, not somewhat, but 100%. Every aspect of their role can be performed. And I think therefore, hopefully the next thing that we have to deal with that interrupts our business is not a pandemic. Maybe it's just something happens in your building or your geographical area, or a road to your space is closed for the day. Well, it doesn't matter right now because you can continue to work.
Hey, Dara, we actually have a question that just came in. The question is, do the benefits that you're talking about matter in regards to firm size?
I guess I'll answer that. No, not really. I mean, I think that depending on the short answer is no. The return on investment actually is probably higher in certain ways when you're a larger firm, because you're buying more pieces of IT and managing more pieces of IT than a smaller firm. But no, it doesn't. In the case of, say, John's firm, he mightn't have had the same complexity of number of pieces of IT that he had to have if he was triple the size. However, the things that John's firm can now achieve, if he wanted to build that, it would have been far more expensive. So I think that the ROI changes a little bit, but the results are the same. And I'm sure John could attest to the fact that, the last 10 years in the legal industry, the one word I hear all the time is competition. I mean, you have to be able to perform if you're a 30-person firm, 35-person firm like John's, you have to be able to operate and run like a 100-person firm, 150-person firm, because that's what your clients expect and you're competing with those people.
And I would also have to add efficiency. Our clients are not increasing our rates, and you have to be more efficient as an attorney, and your support staff has to be much more efficient. You're doing much more now than you were doing 10 years ago for the same price, so to say.
Right.
And that's across the board.
John Rock and Peter Brannigan, actually, now that we're talking about efficiency, where one of you can chime in here, one or the other, but Tabs and Worldox, I mean, being efficient with the product is key. I know you were just showing the type of the tips and tricks that if you're doing those repetitive tasks all day, every day, you're saving what might just be an hour or half an hour, but that adds up over time. So how do you think people can leverage, say, Worldox or Tabs even further, and how do you help people do?
I think it's a combination of deployment and training. And I'll jump in first, Peter, because deployment, we have our best practices, and we know the software and all of its hidden gem features that we can enable by default, and then train folks on them so that they're more productive and efficient. And you touched on a very important part, and we keep talking about it in a number of different ways. But we have an ROI graph that we use, and I'll go around. We used to go around the conference table and say, how much time do you think you spend in a day looking for documents? And the average time was 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, now let's take that times 5 days a week. Let's take that times 52 weeks. Here's what you're losing. What do you make an hour? What do you bill an hour? Here's what you're losing. You're losing XYZ amount of dollars a year. Now multiply that in John Erman's case by 17 attorneys. Holy smokes, you're losing a lot of time. So it's all about implementation, bringing forth these features, and then training the users on how to use them so that they are one click, not 2-3 clicks, and they're as productive as they can be in the software. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I think just going on the training part, I mean, you can have something, but not quite know how to use it efficiently. I'll give you a stupid example. I have an Audi. I'm lucky enough to, at the end of my life here, have an Audi that I never dreamt I would have. But one of the other Worldox bars, we were talking on the phone one day, and he got the same car, actually. And he says, by the way, do you know you can kick your foot under the trunk twice and it'll open? I said, no, you're kidding me. He says, yeah, go and try it. So I went out and I tried to kick my foot under the trunk because I'm carrying golf clubs and carrying stuff all the time. I just put it down, take it up. I mean, it's a stupid little thing. But here I had this thing. I would never have known I could do that. I could have had that Audi for years and not knowing that. But that's what we do with clients with like Worldox. They have so many features, and what each person can leverage is specific to their business and how they do things. But we have so many tips and tricks and techniques that we can show people that are personalized to that firm, to that person, to that role. Paralegal is very different to an attorney, is different to a partner. They have different needs. So the training part with the technology, all these things together, I mean, firms can do a lot for very low hanging fruit, very little investment. You can really have a big impact on your firm. And training is one that's, I think, undervalued by people. They've made the investment and that you bought the A6, just kick your foot. It's not that hard, but the impact is big, right? So everybody should start kicking their feet under their trunk and just check and see if there's something they can do. But anyway, so that to me, that's what I would say is the effectiveness of it.
So now, Tabs and Worldox have been legal products for 30 plus years, right? So they've got a lot of maturity, functionality. There's great integrations built in. That's a lot of things that people may not be aware of to maximize efficiency and effectiveness also. So what is it that, what is it that you like about Worldox and Tabs compared to, say, the competition? What are the three things, say, that you like about each app? And John, maybe you'll tell us what you like about Worldox if you want it as well.
John Erman?
Jonathan Erman, yep. Yeah.
I use Worldox all day long. I was telling John earlier, I had to write a recommendation letter. And, I really don't have time to write a whole full recommendation letter, but I couldn't remember the app, the former law clerk's name, but I just was able to go into Worldox, and where it says text and file, I wrote recommendation letter, and then it says below it, there's a tab for which attorney may have written it. You put your initials in and boom, it popped up. So I was able to cut and paste that and more or less, change it just a little bit. But we use Worldox. We're on Worldox every day, 24/7. It manages all of our files. We save all of our emails to the specific files. It's a one-stop shop. In fact, I would say in the old days, we'd go to the file room or have the files brought to you. I don't even, for the most part, even have hard copy files that I utilize anymore. I'm just on Worldox and viewing.
So what would be the upheaval to have to change from Worldox to another application? If there was some benefit, which, Peter can...
That would be like an IT situation, but I think that to migrate all of that information to another...
But even for your people to learn and train and...
that would be difficult, yeah. There is a learning curve with all of this technology, but at the end of the day, I thought when we believe even the youngest, newest associates find Worldox to be very manageable, very easy to navigate through, as long as you show them the main tabs that are important. Some of the tabs or some of the information I just learned about, I'm going to be reporting to some of my staff. But at the end of the day, it's a very user-friendly, especially with the younger attorneys. They pick up this technology a lot better than the older ones.
Yeah, it's actually one of the key reasons.
In a bad way, I'm just saying it.
Yeah, it's actually one of the key reasons that people like desktop as a service, to be honest, is because you can transition the applications that build and power your firm, and that you've built and power your firm on, and get all the protections of cloud very simply without any type of massive reorganization or retraining.
If I could just interrupt you, the one thing I haven't heard yet is the fact that with the cloud, you basically never really stop working anymore, because as long as you have a device, whether it be your laptop, your iPad, or even your computer at home, I mean, it's as if you're sitting in your office. And that's what I was trying to allude to earlier with regards to the pandemic. When we shut down our offices, there was a mandate in New York City, which we're part of. I mean, it was as if you could work anywhere. I mean, that's one of the downfalls, is the fact you never turn it off. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. It's work is there always.
Yeah.
Peter or John,
if you don't mind me making one point, which is, at the moment we're actually moving a lot of firms. I got 2 orders today to move 2 firms to the cloud who have Worldox, and they want to go to Worldox cloud because they're not ready for BoxTop yet. And that's true of a lot of firms at the moment. But one of the big advantages of BoxTop is if you go to the Worldox cloud from on-site professional, you lose all your licenses that you bought. So let's say you bought 30 licenses, you're talking about $15,000 that's thrown away in the garbage, and you start paying a monthly fee. When you go to BoxTop, you take your professional licenses with you. So firms that are bigger that take it, they're not wasting that investment they already made. They actually leverage that, because in the BoxTop environment, it's the exact same thing as us doing an on-site, on-premise deployment with the same licenses and the same exact client software. It's all identical, but that saving is actually something that people should consider. If you're going to the Worldox cloud by itself, there's a cost there. But if you go to BoxTop, that particular cost is not there. There is no license cost that's additional for Worldox. It's a subtle but an important kind of a point for anybody considering that.
Yeah, and actually on that point, desktop as a service really enhances your software as a service type of, or infrastructure as a service type of applications anyway. Like for instance, if you go to Worldox cloud, you can secure access to your Worldox, or any other, like net documents would be the same. You could secure access to your net documents to make sure people can only access your net documents, for instance, from your BoxTop cloud, your cloud desktop. So therefore, the compliance and the forms that you're filling out for your financial clients, for your financial and institutional partners, your cyber insurance, professional insurance liabilities, all these compliance data that you're saying are in John Erman's case, HIPAA compliance, because all your applications are now, if they're in BoxTop or our software as a service, because they're locked down to access from BoxTop, that means no matter where your people are working, they're meeting the compliance that you're writing to. So for instance, if you write and say, we meet this compliance set of compliance, but then somebody uses their home PC to access your net documents and you has some type of breach, you're really not under compliance anymore. But as long as people are working through the BoxTop cloud desktop, you're always under compliance. And that's a very important point. So DAAS actually enhances software as a service as well, and infrastructure as a service. They don't have to be separated. I think
we have a couple minutes left, and we have a couple of questions. So I'm just going to jump in and ask the questions. So somebody on the webinar says they're in the market for either updating their current server or moving to the cloud. So they're evaluating cost and return on investment. So are there any insights you can give on the cost of cloud versus replacing in-house servers?
Yeah, so very simply, when you're moving to the cloud, you're reducing certain systems that you need. So you're definitely reducing certain costs. There tends to be, you're going from capital expenditure going way down to your operating expenditure creeping up. It really depends on the complexity of your IT and how that balances off. Some firms are going to have an ROI within 3 years, some 5. But what I can say is, with our firm, with every company or law firm that we speak to, we do a 5-year comparison for them. So we can say, look, if you want to build out your systems by having certain systems on premise with servers, certain systems in the cloud, we can help you formulate what that solution would look like, price that out over 5 years, and show you, in our case, the BoxTop equivalent over the next 5 years. It is different depending on firm. That is firm to firm, so it's not really a one-size-fits-all comparison. But also, it depends on the solution using. Like, there are different types of DAAS. Like BoxTop eradicates the need to purchase any PCs for your office any longer, so you don't need to have desktops anymore. It eradicates the need for every single server in your office. Some cloud solutions don't do that. Infrastructure as a service or SaaS more than likely won't do that at all, for sure. So I think it's an individual discussion. I'd be more than willing to have that discussion with whoever's asking, for sure.
And then along the same lines, and touched on it, what hardware is required on the firm side if they decide to move to the cloud?
So with BoxTop, you're removing all your servers, all your desktops. You're keeping your network, your internet connectivity, your firewalls, your network, and your peripherals, your printers and scanners, multifunction printers, standalone scanners, network scanners, and printers. You're keeping all that. And when you're outside the office, you can use any devices you want. So if you're sitting at home and you log in with your iPad, and your iPad is connected to your home Wi-Fi printer, when you're logged into BoxTop from that iPad, you can print to that local printer in your home or in your clients seamlessly. Or as Jonathan actually said, he does sometimes, is he prints when he's at his remote office in Jersey, he prints documents to printers in his office in New York for his people, because BoxTop is all one cloud network. So therefore, firms with multiple locations, it's seamless. You can operate as if you're in any location. And I think that's another thing, hoteling and hot desking I mentioned earlier. Again, that because you're not dependent on PCs, any person could log in at any desk. So I could be working in desk A at office A, and then work at desk B the next day at office A and seamlessly work. Or I could move to office B and work on desk A, and nothing changes for me. I can seamlessly operate as I do in any location.
Okay, I think I have time for one more question, and I see one from a firm who is looking at a Citrix solution, and they're asking if that's the same as a DAAS solution.
So Citrix, yes, certain Citrix environment. Citrix is a technology that has been around for many years. And is used in both DAAS environments and infrastructure as a service environments. How you use it really depends upon whether it's fully comparable. Again, it needs a more thoughtful discussion, but there are definitely some performance benefits of the type of DAAS we use over a Citrix DAAS environment. And also you tend to keep some of your server, and you definitely keep your desktop hardware when you're using a Citrix environment.
Okay, great. Well, we are up against the clock, and so any final points that anybody wants to make before I close this out?
I just saw one question there that said, was there a piece of
Yep.
hardware? And there is an optional little device, I believe, Darrell talk more, that is included in the subscription, I believe, Darrell. That's true?
Yeah, so every desktop in your office is replaced by what we call a BoxTop Windows client that sits at your desk, which basically replaces the need to have a PC anymore. So if you are, say, in Jonathan's case, 37-person law firm, Jonathan never needs to buy another PC again. We provide this small device that they all press a button that connects them to their logon screen, and they log in. That device always stays in your office. Certain people want them for their home offices if they have a nice setup. But it always stays in your office. Once you leave, you use any device you want.
And if I just may interject, you don't even need to have that device. For instance, I use an iMac. And I have, just for purposes that I enjoy Apple products. So I don't even have that device, but some of my other staff members do have that device. It's up to the user. If they want a desktop, they have a desktop. If not, if they just want 2 monitors and a keyboard, then they get the piece.
Before we go, I just wanted to thank John Rock, Peter Brannigan, and Jonathan Erman for your time today. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for your insights, your tips and tricks, and Jonathan for your information and thoughts on DAAS at your law firm.
Oh no, I appreciate it. Thank you for your.
Thanks,
And of course,
everyone.
Thank you to Deborah for putting this together.
Yay, Deborah.
Thanks, everyone. Well, I'll just reiterate, thanks to Peter, John, and Dara for participating in today's webinar. And thank you to everyone watching. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll get it to the appropriate person and we'll circle back with you. And with that, have a great rest of your day. This now concludes today's interactive discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.